and one was Watts. Can you imagine? We asked children, we had a sample of convenience, we asked children, how many books do you have in your home that you can read, that are yours or belong to your siblings? The Beverly Hills sample said 200. Now that's not crazy, that's what I grew up with, that's what your kids had, that's what my kids had. Watts, 0.4. School is not leveling the playing field. School is making things worse. We looked at the classroom library. The kids in Beverly Hills, average classroom library, 400 books. In Watts, 50. We looked at the school library, much better in the rich neighborhoods. We looked at the public library, more bookstores. Now, Susan B. Newman improved on our work considerably. Some of you have heard of her. She's the former Assistant Secretary of Education in the Rod Page Group. She has done remarkable research in this area, which had nothing to do with her job in Washington. And she's gone back to doing excellent research. She has a very interesting article in the latest issue of Educational Leadership, which also has an article by Reed Lyon and one by Steve Krashen, which come to different conclusions. Anyway, Susan Newman, in this brilliant paper with Donna Solano, looked at 2 rich neighborhoods, 2 poor neighborhoods. I'll slightly oversimplify. 2 middle class, 2 underclass, working class. She looked at print access. I'll just give you highlights. In the rich neighborhoods, the public libraries were open in the evening, not in the poor neighborhoods. In the rich neighborhoods, there was a certified librarian in the school library, not in the poor neighborhoods. More print in the environment, more places to see people reading. Bookstores was the biggest one. You know, they say, oh, well, these kids have money for, hi-fis and all this stuff and gym shoes. Even if they had the money, where are they going to get the books? In the poor neighborhoods, you basically have drugstores and nothing for the child older than 7. The rich neighborhoods, Newman's statement, wealthy children are deluged with books. They're everywhere, Barnes & Noble, etc. I looked at the richest and the poorest, took out my calculator, and determined that the rich neighborhood, the kids had 4,000 times as many titles available to them as in the poor neighborhoods. If you look at Duke's paper, which came out just about the same week, looking at classroom libraries in rich and poor neighborhoods, the differences are startling. When you see data like this, you can't tell me what poor kids need is more drills and exercises. It can't be. Even seen apart from the data I told you about phonics, first of all, everybody has always gotten phonics instruction. There has never been kids who haven't gotten phonics instruction. It's very rare not to get that. Even so, I'll give you an analogy that's as tasteless as I can possibly make it in order to get the point across. You go to a country where there's been crop failure, famine. The children are undernourished. They have all the signs of protein deficiency, the swollen bellies, everything. The experts come in, they say what these kids need is microsurgery on their small intestines so they have better absorption of vitamin B6. It costs $10,000 per child, and Halliburton is going to get the contract, of course, and it's very painful, and that's the end. Nobody would go with that. We'd say that's ridiculous. Let's first give them some food. Let's make sure they have 3 meals a day, using anyone's definition of what a good diet is. Then if that doesn't work, we can worry about these more sophisticated things. This is what's going on now. The message we're getting, and this is No Child Left Behind, I'm sorry, this is one of the parts that has not been sufficiently publicized. I'm happy it's underfunded, frankly, okay? I don't care. Because it's based on the report of the National Reading Panel, which means drills and exercises and more workbooks, etc., not books, not libraries. The only place children of poverty are going to get books is the school library. It's their only chance. They don't have books at home. Public libraries are hit by funding, etc. The school library is the only chance. California hit the headlines years ago when supposedly test scores dropped because whole language was brought in. I argued in an article in the Kaplan that this never happened, this wasn't true, and that the plummet never happened. The test scores were low, but there was no pretest. They were always low. If you look at Jeff McQuillan's work, they were low years before whole language was brought in, etc. And the real problem in California, we now call the altered state of California, is access to print. McQuillan has looked at this and has pointed out that our children we have one of the highest rates of poverty in families with children in school in the country, which means fewer books at home. We have among the worst public libraries in the country. We're always in the bottom 10, bottom 5, depending on what criteria you use. And let me tell you about school libraries in California and what Arnold is doing about it. In 1990, in the United States, the average elementary school has 18 books per child. This is a very stable result. The School Library Journal does surveys every couple of years, and they keep coming up with this number. In California, when our literacy crisis hit, when we were the worst in the country, which we still are, we had 13 books per child. That was absolute rock bottom. Today, thanks to all our education governors, it is 11 books per child. It's gotten worse, all right? In terms of librarians, in the United States, there is one school librarian for every 900 children. That's the average. In California, we remain dead last, one for